Mark, highs of Forest Green, low and highs of Hartlepool, and then the Port Vale game. How's the mood been around camp this week?
Yeah, it's been fine. We're disappointed. Obviously, we haven't got our home form going as yet, but another opportunity at the weekend to address that. So, I thought we finished the game really strongly and had chances to really get back on level terms, which, on reflection over the course of the whole match, I think our performance probably just about deserved that, to take something out of the game. Maybe not doing enough maybe to win it, but certainly I thought our last period was encouraging again. So it's about just getting a complete home performance. We've played well up to a point in good periods in all the games we've played, but it's about just getting that complete performance that enables us to win.
Is you focusing on those positives that we've seen chunks of the home games and really home to the players?
I think the players themselves, they know that there's times when we haven't quite done what was needed in any given situation. So that happens. It's about decision making. Football's all about making the right decision at the right time, and sometimes if you don't get those decisions individually and collectively correct, then the opposition can hurt you. So we've had examples of that, but no, the confidence is still high. We're enjoying the work that we're going through, and every week it's a process of going through what we need to highlight from the game just gone, and work on the repetition of the thoughts and the ideas that we have in terms of what we want to do. So that's an ongoing process. That's what we do day in, day out to repeat good messages that they can use and translate into good performances.
You talked about after finding different ways to play and to adapt. Did you mean by that on a game-by-game basis, or is that something you can work on during the week? And how receptive have the players been?
No, the point I was making was that sometimes opposition will make it difficult for us. Ideally, when we're playing really well, as we've shown certainly in our away performances, then teams will look at those games and think, well, goodness me, they're a good team if you allow them to play. So teams will come and try and stop us playing. So the point I was making is that when that happens, we've got to be able to have another string to our bow and be able to adapt and change and ask different questions of the opposition so that they are unable to answer those. And so the momentum of the game swings back your way if it's gone the other way. So it's just about having an acknowledgement during 90 minutes of football that at times you can't dominate throughout the 90 minutes. So there's only a certain few at the top end that can do that. So we have to accept at times momentum will go against us, and we've just got to be aware when that happens and be able to bring it back to ourselves. And you can do that with certain things that we've worked on this week.
And just coming into the Newport game, do you have any fresh injury concerns or team news going into Newport? No. I think from last week we're okay. We're likely to get Elliott and Alex Gilliard back. The other injuries that we have are still absent. But we're strong enough. We had 22 players out there today, so that's okay. We've still got a few injury concerns, longer term ones that haven't come back into the group. But apart from that, I've got good numbers, so I've got good options. Yeah, Alex and Elliott pre-Port Vale, they were a bit touch and go, weren't they? Is it a case this weekend we can expect them to start, or is it more they'll just be involved?
We'll wait and see. They haven't missed a great deal of football. They're back training with the group, so we're hopeful they're not going to get any reaction leading into the game. But I would have no qualms putting them straight back in if I felt that was the right selection. But there's no concern in terms of those. Maybe a little bit different for the likes of Charles Vernon, who obviously had a longer term injury, and he had a great introduction when he came on last week. Had an instant impact, so he's in my thoughts. But we're mindful that he hasn't had a great deal of football, and that 30 minutes or so that he had was probably more than we expected him
have to play in his first game back. So we're still a little bit cautious with Charles.
I was going to say about Charles, because obviously coming on and scoring, they're probably chomping at the bit to be in that 11. Is it a case of a bit of man management when it comes to managing how quickly they come back?
Well, yeah. So we've got good support staff here, and I'm getting good information in terms of loads and how much work that the guys should be exposed to. So I take that on board. Sometimes as a manager, sometimes if circumstances dictate, sometimes you have to ignore all that and just go with your gut feeling and circumstances. And sometimes I try and avoid that because sometimes that can compromise a player. But we're not in that situation. I've got good numbers, and if we have to give guys a little bit extra time to make sure they're sound, then that's what we'll do.
I want to ask you about your goalkeepers, because you've got Alex Bass, who's on loan, but you've also got Richard, who's out of contract at the end of the season. Now that's obviously only one position. How do you go about managing that, knowing that Alex could not be here next season, but Richard might be thinking, well, I want to try and prove myself and fight for my place? Yeah,
it's difficult for any number of players that haven't got that knowledge of where they're going to be next year, and we're not at that process where we can start offering deals to players at this moment in time. We're not far away, if I'm honest. So yeah, Richard's one of a number of players that have a little bit of anxiety in terms of their position, but I would just say that to any number of the players, a lot of decisions haven't been made yet. There's circumstances, obviously, with the goalkeeping situation that is obviously a key position and will be resolved, but we're probably not at that point yet.
Is it something that you would like to get a rough idea of who's going to go?
I would like to think by the time we come back for pre-season, all those issues are in place and we know exactly what we're going with. The reality will probably be something completely different because we won't have everybody we want through the door when we want them, but I think it's a process everybody's got to go through. League Two, there's a lot of churn in terms of players moving around and come to the end of their contracts and looking for deals. So there's a lot of work to go through and a lot of information that regarding players that you might be interested in. That work's ongoing. That's something we're going through now.
And okay, the playoffs, albeit not mathematically, but probably out of reach. We can't really see Bradford City getting involved in a relegation fight, but there's still so much, like you say, contracts to play for. Have you let the players know your expectations and what you want to see from them?
Oh yeah, I'd like to think they understand where I'm coming from now in terms of standards and how we train and how we behave and the levels that we have to hit. You can't just switch that on and off. It's got to be a constant, and that runs right through the club from Monday to the weekend. So there's a lot to play for. You touch on obviously guys playing for future contracts. That's always there. Others obviously I will look at, and maybe at this point in time haven't made a decision in my own mind. So there's a lot of things, a lot of factors, and players have the opportunity and the ability to influence that by their performances. So it's in everybody's interest that everybody plays really hard from now to the end of the season.
And just some of the younger lads, I'm thinking Kean Scales, Rhys Staunton, is this a time of season where we could maybe expect to see them, give them a little run out?
I'd never guarantee anybody a game, definitely, because circumstances change very, very quickly on a daily, hourly basis, it seems sometimes in football. So if an opportunity presents itself and a player's trained exceptionally well and I'm of the view that he merits an appearance, then he will get that. But that would have to obviously be my decision, and we'll have to see if I'm not too sentimental in that regard, just giving games for game's sake. I think guys have to really earn the right to play in Bradford City shirt, so that shouldn't change.
Looking ahead, still looking obviously for your first home win at Valley Parade. Another big crowd on Saturday. It'd be great to send those fans home happy.
Well, yeah, we're all waiting. We're all waiting for that. It's like I said, we've been close in all the games. In my view, we just need that performance that gets us over the line, and I feel we're very, very close. We've got good options. We've got guys that don't make the first 11 who can come on and make an impact. We know that as well. So if things aren't quite going our way, then we can make changes that will affect the game. So I think it's very close, that first home win. I think everybody feels that. I think the atmosphere in the stadium illustrates that. There's huge support for what we're trying to do, and they can see that we're trying to do the right things at the right time. And as long as we continue in that vein, then we'll get that support, because I like to think the way we want to play will encourage everybody.
And I'm sure going forward into next season, it's, we talk a lot about this league. Away teams will come to Valley Parade and almost see it as like a cup final. It's the place they want to go and get 3 points. You'll be wanting to make that into a fortress next season.
Well, yeah. I think I mentioned a couple of weeks back. We shouldn't have any anxiety of playing at home. It should be a joy. Well, whenever I was playing at home, I'd look across the tone to the opposition and think, well, they can't win today because we never get beat here. So we've got to get to a point where we feel the same at Valley Parade, and if we're playing well and we've got a huge crowd in the stadium and they're right behind us, then it's going to be very, very difficult for away teams to come and enjoy the experience. And we're not at that level yet, but that's our intention.
Just on Newport, another side that are up there, but you've shown in recent weeks, Forest Green, that you can more than compete with.
Well, the teams that we play in almost each and every over, even from now to the end of the year, the teams that are going for something, trying to get into playoff positions, trying to go up automatically, and that's why they've been difficult games. We haven't had an easy game yet, so I don't anticipate we'll have too many from now to the end of the season. So yeah, it's a good challenge and it's a good test, and it helps me obviously see how guys deal with good opposition going up against us, and it gives me a real insight into the league itself and what's required to be successful. So I'm really enjoying this period at the moment. I think it's a great learning experience for me in terms of the level that we're at and the level that we want to go to.
Just lastly, away from Bradford City, big game for Wales tonight.
Yeah.
Game away from that playoff final. I'm sure you'll have one eye on that, if not two.
Well, yeah. Well, thankfully I've got this role now, but if I wasn't here, I would actually be there with all the other Welshmen and women. So yeah, it's a huge opportunity for Wales. It's just the first step. Obviously, if they overcome this one, they go into the final. And yeah, I got close a couple of times, but was never able to play in a World Cup finals, and that's probably the one glaring omission from my CV, was that I was never able to play in a major championship for my country. So that was a big regret of my career. But these guys, some of them have already done that in the Euros. So it'd be great if we finally get there. We got close too many times in the past and got obviously upset at the final hurdle. So I wish them all well.
Well, best of luck for Saturday and for tonight.
Thank you. Thanks.
When you look at Newport, they've been there or thereabouts the last few years and always failed. Is there a case that you can maybe play on that against them? Because that sort of mental attitude, will we fail again?
Well, yeah, I mean, they've been a solid team for a number of seasons and done really well. And I actually went to the playoff when they came up into the Football League. I'm right in saying they played Wrexham because I was there as a Wrexham supporter. So unfortunately they beat us. So they're doing well. It's a side obviously that had problems in its history, but they've resurrected themselves and come again, and credit to them. So they'll be challenging. I'm not sure how much the fact that they're close and they've missed out, how much that will affect the group as a whole. We have to obviously hope that's the case, because then we can benefit from that. But I think you can look at the reverse of that. Obviously they've had experience of getting this close maybe in the past, and perhaps they have the means to go that one step further. So we'll have to wait and see, but it's our intention to upset them.
And presumably looking for a better start than you had last week against Port Vale in terms of the way they're playing.
Well, yeah, you have to factor in what the opposition will try and do to you. So the teams, as I've already mentioned, they won't come and allow us to play how we want to play with no question or not asking questions of us. So we've got to be ready for that. So I think we certainly talked about this week about making sure that we're more dynamic than maybe we were in the opening period. I think we allowed ourselves to just get a little bit sucked into how Portfield wanted to play their type of game, and it's up to us to be strong enough to play the way we want to play and allow ourselves to dictate to the opposition, not the other way around. So that's what we've talked about. That's what we'll aim to do at the weekend.
Cheers. So Mark, obviously about the home record. I mean, you know, the supporters staying with you as well as they have done. The fact that I think we're working out there's been one home win in the last 5 months, so season ticket
it's
holders,
not good enough.
They've not had much the other way. So the fact they've stayed with you shows, if you can get it right, the potential.
Oh yeah, well, sure. We don't take for granted the support that we have. It's always a case of trying to give our supporters everything that we can, and you touch on the fact they stayed with us. I think that's because they can see progress, and they can see that there's a real demand from me, and that there's a real drive from the players themselves to make things better. And the fans see what they see. They see that for themselves. We're not trying to kid people. It's what we do on the pitch we'll get judged by, and at the weekend it's another opportunity to put the record straight to a certain extent. And we felt that we have deserved more in the game. Certainly I've been involved in at home, so that's okay saying that, but you've got to go out and actually turn it around and get 3 points, and that's the aim of the weekend, clearly.
You say about this whole habit forming. I mean, if you can get this elusive win, hopefully it's sort of a habit. It's probably, players will probably say it's not affecting them at all, and it probably isn't, but in the back of your mind there'll still be that thing of, you know, we just need to
possibly, yeah, you only get rid of that by playing well and winning games, as you've said, and that's our intention. I think the players themselves as a group are frustrated because they've seen opportunities to certainly get positive results in these games, and we haven't quite been able to get it over the line, but we all feel we're very close, and good time to start would be the weekend.
And I was talking to Jan Songa at the start of the week. Obviously he's played this season half as a central midfielder and half as a centre half, and he's sort of, I'll say which role you prefer, and he's sort of 6 or 1/2 dozen the other. How do you sort of see Jan? Where do you see him as more?
I think he's doing really well. I think in the first week he pulled me to one side and reminded me that he was a midfield player, but I think he's doing fine. I think he's doing very well in the role I'm asking him to do. I appreciate at times he's still come to terms with the position, but I think he's had an influence on the way we played. He's been prepared to maybe in his own mind sacrifice a little bit of his natural game to really help the team out, and everybody appreciates him for that. I think he's a player that's got a better understanding of how to play the position now, just by virtue of obviously the time we've spent with not only Jan but the whole back four in terms of what we want and what I expect from him. So I'd like to think he's enjoying learning that part of it. But I mean, it's always better to have a number of strings to your bow, and Jan's got that. So I know I could call on him if I felt I needed his type of player or his potential to play midfield, and I can call on that because I know he can play there.
And also he's got very good experience, particularly at this level. You know, he's had success at this level, so you know he knows it's not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we tap into that on a daily basis, so he understands the level and can impact games wherever he plays, in my view.
And he's also probably not one you want to upset. He's quite a big guy any time.
He's okay, Jan. He's no problem. He accepts criticism, and I think he's a good professional. He recognises if there's been a mistake, and he's good enough professional to hold his hand up if it's down to him. There haven't been too many occasions that it's been down to him since I've been here, so that's credit to him.
And Matt, I mean, Pete obviously referenced Newport there. Just thinking about your career, you had a time when you played for a club that hadn't won the league for 20 odd years. You have the Wales experience, nothing since '58. Just thinking in terms of the home form, how significant is it when you just break that barrier and get that belief again?
Yes, and it's an important
cycle to break. You don't want, obviously, to have a home record mentioned every week, because when that happens, it's clearly something not quite right with where we are at that time. So, yeah, the sooner we just get rid of that. I mean, the results that we've had away from home, back-to-back wins, I think that was the first time since August. I was reminded just before. So you can get rid of all these comments or areas of discussion just by winning. And if we do that at the weekend, then another trend may develop, and I'll have to discuss that. But ideally, we want to get back to winning ways at home. Why shouldn't we? We're good enough to win at home.
Because I mean, when the margins are so small, and as you said, you've been playing well at home, you've been playing well away as well. Do you feel it really just doesn't need much? Just as
no, it doesn't need much. It's as much as maybe, and we have been able to do this. Scoring the first goal is so vitally important at this level, and at all levels. If I'm honest, that first goal is key, and I think we've been guilty when we have conceded goals. Even if we've gone ahead in games, we conceded at bad times in periods in and around, obviously, the half-time break, and obviously at the end of games we've conceded penalties that have hurt us. So it's just recognising those times in the games when you've got to be really focused and manage those periods of the game so that you get the result that you want.
Because obviously the flip side of it, you've then played in successful teams, and as you say, you're in the tunnel looking, just thinking we're going to win. It does feel like with the crowd you get here and the stature of the club, that if you can just get that run, it will get you through tight games where you make it.
It's our intention in the future, at some point, sooner rather than later, that we don't hope to win, we expect to win. That's the mentality we need to have, and that's where we need to get to. We're not there now, at this moment in time, clearly, but we can get there without a shadow of a doubt. So it's about utilising all the strengths that we have, and that includes the playing staff, the support staff, the stadium, and clearly the fans that come and watch us, because without them we're nothing. We can't achieve what we want to achieve. So the key is to have an environment here that enables us to expect to win, not to hope to win.
And with respect to Matthew Falls earlier, seemed very, very happy with life, just enjoying his football. Mm-hmm. When you follow a manager who's been sacked, on top of all the technical work, how important is it to just get them enjoying the football again? Yeah,
that's a huge thing. It's unfortunately when managers, and I know myself, having left many jobs, unfortunately, there is a time where players are a little bit in limbo. They're not quite sure where they stand with the new manager, and change is good for some guys. Others don't like change, and it affects them adversely. But I just think if you come in and you're positive and give them good direction and give them an understanding of where you expect them to perform and how they're expected to perform, then as long as you give them an insight into that, then very quickly they recover from any issues they had with a change in management.
And again, he was saying he's enjoying the style of play as well. I guess the fact that you try and play a positive style of play, that just naturally feeds into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're trying to play a little bit more passing, but it's always with the view just to get it up to the front end of the team and at the top end of the pitch to enable us to score goals and create chances and win games. And so we're not messing around at the back, in my view. It's always with the intention to get up the pitch.
And I would imagine all through your managerial career, you probably worked with players who couldn't hold the ball like you couldn't volley it like you could. But I guess it's more pronounced now you're working at this level. Does it take a bit of a sort of mental jump to just appreciate that these players can't do what you could do, or have you sort of got reconciled to that as you over the years?
Well, the reality is I'm 58 now and I can't do it anymore. So they can. So they're better than me now. So no, it doesn't come into my thinking at all. I've been a manager for a long time, and it's always been about making the individual better so that the team becomes better. And if someone is struggling with one area of their play, that I know I can improve them by just giving them a little bit of insight and a little bit of experience of my knowledge, then that's what I'll do. And on a personal level, on a professional level, that's really satisfying, because you can see when people take on board the information you give them and actually try and work with what you feel will help them, and when it comes off for them, you're really pleased. So it's really satisfying, the role I have. Hopefully they feel that the knowledge I've got and the experience I've got will enable them to become better players, and I've seen that for myself already, so that's encouraging for me, certainly, as their manager.
I mean, I've heard you say in a couple of interviews already, you've been very impressed by the standard of League Two football and what have you. So has now you're a few weeks in, has the transition been easier maybe than you?
I think the only difference, the level of player is it's all about decision making, in my view. It's the better players, the world class players, are the ones that make the best decisions on a more regular basis, and that's why they play where they are. At times we will make poor decisions and not make the right decision for the right situation, and that's at times why we play at the level that we do. But listen, everybody can pass the ball, everybody can head it and volley it and trap it at this level. It's just using the skill at the right time. That's what skill is. Technique, they can all do the techniques, it's just using the right one at the right time.